Why should others go to jail when you're the biggest carbon consumer I know?
There's 8,500 customers here, and you won't give them an answer.
You come here once a year with a sign, and you feel morally superior.
The only thing I have to say to the government about why I publish it is because it's my bloody right to do so.
Ezra Levant with TheRebel.media. I'm in Paris, France, where I have been for several days covering the terrorist attacks. I'm on my way back to Toronto. In fact, I'm at the Charles de Gaulle airport right now, as you can see. But I wanted to tell you one last story. I came across a picture of the inside of the Bataclan. That's the concert hall where the terrorist attack, the deadliest of the 5 terrorist attacks, took place, where 89 people were murdered and many more were injured. It's a terrifying picture. I'm going to show it to you in a moment, so if you don't want to see dead people, please click away now. It is truly horrifying. Okay, I'm going to show now, so if you're still watching, I assume that you want to see it. There it is. It's grotesque, it's demonic, it's barbaric, it's Nazi-like in its disregard for human life, but that is what happened. That is the true nature of what happened in Paris. But I have not seen this picture anywhere other than in one British newspaper that pixelated it to make it blurry. My first point is why? I mean, I understand giving people a warning that they're about to see a disturbing image, but we show disturbing images all the time on TV, especially after, say, 8 p.m. There are entire TV series that are more gruesome on a regular basis than that. Dexter was an entire hit TV series about serial killers. Half these CSI shows are about graphic rapes and murders. Why has there been a blackout of this central image of the central terrorist attack that has riveted the world? I mean, out of sheer curiosity, do you not want to know what the war zone looks like? I hadn't seen this image posted anywhere else, so I posted it on Twitter myself, and I made a few quick comments. I said, quote, "Look at the dead bodies on the blood-soaked floor of the Paris nightclub. Don't look away. This is radical Islam." Do you see my point? If you don't want to talk about terrorism, fine, I get it. But if you are talking about terrorism, then look at what terrorism is, what it does, what it did. The reaction to me posting this picture was fascinating, and it was split ideologically. Conservatives, people worried about terrorism, shared that image widely. They had never seen it before elsewhere either. Nearly 500 other people retweeted the picture to their followers too. Twitter analytics says my tweet of this was seen 48,000 times. But the other half of the people who saw it on my Twitter feed condemned me for showing it. Why? Well, that's obvious, because they hate stories that depict Muslim terrorism. They hate the proof of it because it erodes their worldview that multiculturalism works, that all religions are peace-loving, that the word Islam itself means peace, etc. That's why the CBC actually has a formal written policy that says they don't use the word terrorist unless they're quoting someone else who says it, because that word is so judgmental. The media party never hesitates to show gruesome news when they think it suits their political agenda, like the rogue U.S. soldiers at Abu Ghraib who mistreated Iraqi prisoners. I've seen those photos 100 times. They were so widely published, they've become iconic, because the media wants you to know how evil America is, even though those rogue soldiers were prosecuted and jailed by the U.S., which is exactly why the media has not shown the image of the dead Bataclan victims. They don't want it to become the symbol of Islamic terrorism. They'd rather have some sweet-talking spokesman for some Muslim PR agency come in and say there's nothing to see here. Even Twitter got in on it. After about 48,000 people saw the picture, suddenly Twitter blocked the picture from my Twitter feed, writing, "The following media may contain sensitive material. Your media settings are configured to inform you when media may be sensitive." So my picture wasn't deleted. It was just blocked for so many people that couldn't see it unless they clicked an extra button. It was half-censored. There are literally thousands of Islamic State supporters on Twitter tweeting in support of terrorism. There is pornography on Twitter, there is profanity on Twitter, but Twitter restricted my photo of a news scene. But of course it did. I mean, look, over here in France, they don't even say the words Islamic State or l'État islamiste because it's too accurate. So they say a meaningless acronym of the word Daesh. That's what they call the Islamic State here. They just call it Daesh, just a sound, a grunt, anything to avoid showing the reality of what happened. Stay with us. More in our final show from Paris, France.
Looking for the perfect gift? Did you know TheRebel.media has a store? Make a statement with a t-shirt. Have your morning coffee in a Fearless Travel coffee mug. There's even an Ezra Levant bobblehead. It's a one-stop shop for the perfect gift. And don't forget to pick up something for yourself. Go to TheRebel.media/store to find out more.
Well, while I've been out here in Paris, my friend Brian Lilley has been back in Ottawa reporting on Canada's response to the Paris terrorist attacks. Take a look.
Let me be blunt here. John Kerry's words have left me dumbfounded. I've been covering politics a long time. I've heard plenty of politicians say silly things, outright stupid things, but John Kerry's comments on the Paris attacks are something else. He said the attacks on the Charlie Hebdo offices last January are, well, they're more understandable than last Friday's Paris attacks.
There's something different about what happened from Charlie Hebdo, and I think everybody would feel that. There was a sort of particularized focus and perhaps even a legitimacy in terms of, not a legitimacy, but a rationale that you could attach yourself to somehow and say, okay, they're really angry because of this or that.
I can forgive Secretary of State Kerry for using the word legitimacy. He realized his mistake right away. He corrected himself. That doesn't change the underlying tone of his message, though. Charlie Hebdo had it coming because they'd picked on Muslims. Last week's attacks, well, they're incomprehensible to Kerry because he doesn't understand why they would take place at all. Kerry likely agrees with his boss, President Barack Obama, who called what happened in Paris an attack on universal values.
This is an attack not just on Paris, it's an attack not just on the people of France, but this is an attack on all of humanity and the universal values that we share.
What universal values are those? Obama really means Western values, but like so many politicians, he's trying to make it seem like everyone agrees with those values. They obviously don't. Otherwise, why kill people trying to enjoy a night out? The reality is the people killed in the Paris attacks were killed because they were trying to enjoy a night out. The statement put out where ISIS claimed responsibility for the attack said this: "And so 8 brothers, equipped with explosive belts and assault rifles, attacked precisely chosen targets in the center of the capital of France. These targets included the Stade de France stadium during a soccer match between the teams of Germany and France, both of which are Crusader nations, attended by the imbecile of France, François Hollande. The targets included the Bataclan Theatre for exhibitions, where hundreds of pagans gathered for a concert of prostitution and vice." The people that carried out these attacks did so not because of what we've done to them specifically or Muslims in general. They attacked because of who we are. John Kerry doesn't get that. He likely believes the line that says, hey, if we just leave Muslim lands and leave Muslims alone, they'll leave us alone. Tell that to the Muslims being slaughtered by ISIS because they don't believe in exactly the same way that ISIS adherents do. Is ISIS targeting them because they're crusaders? No. Or tell that to the Christians and Yazidis who've lived in Iraq and Syria for millennia but are being killed on their own land now for not submitting. John Kerry and Barack Obama don't get it. Most world leaders don't. They want you to believe that the attacks are purely political, not related to any religion. That ignores one key fact. The people carrying out the attacks, they keep telling us they're carrying them out in the name of Allah, the name of Islam. And when someone or some group tells you something of why they're doing it and they're telling you over and over again, believe them. But the political class, they keep trying to second guess why the West is being attacked. They keep trying to put their own spin on what's happening. We can't let that happen. Like it or not, we're at war. We may not want the war, but it's coming for us anyway. Whether we're talking about the attacks in Ottawa and St. Jean and Sydney, the Russian airliner, the Charlie Hebdo offices, or the soccer stadiums and concert halls of Paris. We need clear heads and clear eyes to see that. Unfortunately, I'm not sure that's something that we have with leadership from the likes of John Kerry and Barack Obama.
That's my friend Brian Lilley in Ottawa. After these words, my final thoughts from Paris.
so open-minded that the brains have fallen out.
What's the point that you're making?
The point that I'm making is that if you're going to propose a massive overhaul to the way the economy is developed in terms of carbon tax, cap and trade, other forms like that, it helps to have some science that is in fact settled.
I want to read this poem written by Irishman Nobel Prize winner W.B. Yeats in 1919 after the First World War. Yeats didn't live in Paris like many other writers like Hemingway, but he visited Paris often. And the news the past week and being in Paris made me somehow think of him and this poem called The Second Coming. I find it a terrifying poem, and I think of it whenever news is dark. It offers me no comfort, and I don't think it will for you either. Here it is, The Second Coming. Turning and turning in the widening gyre, the falcon cannot hear the falconer. Things fall apart. The center cannot hold. Mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. The blood-dimmed tide is loosed, and everywhere the ceremony of innocence is drowned. The best lack all conviction, while the worst are full of passionate intensity. Surely some revelation is at hand. Surely the second coming is at hand, the second coming. Hardly are those words out when a vast image out of Spiritus Mundi troubles my sight. A waste of desert sand, a shape with lion body and the head of a man, a gaze blank and pitiless as the sun is moving its slow thighs while all about it wind shadows of the indignant desert birds. The darkness drops again, but now I know that 20 centuries of stony sleep were vexed to nightmare by a rocking cradle, and what rough beast, its hour come round at last, slouches towards Bethlehem to be born. This is our last show from Paris, France. We're coming home to Toronto. I'll see you tomorrow, everybody. Good night.